Well, in Missouri, abortion is effectively banned once again after the Missouri Supreme Court said a lower court's ruling was inefficient.
WGEM Missouri Capitol Bureau reporter Hannah Falcon spoke with Planned Parenthood about how it's moving forward after a step back.
Abortion providers have started sending patients out of state when the Missouri Supreme Court essentially banned abortion once again in the state. This is something that those clinics did during those 2 years abortion was banned between the Dobbs decision and Amendment 3.
We're working very hard to make sure that all the patients that need abortion care are able to receive that care, whether they have to go to Kansas or to Illinois.
Rhiann Hawkins with Planned Parenthood Great Rivers tells me the clinic is determined to continue providing abortions, even if it can't do so in Missouri. Data from the Guttmacher Institute shows about 10,000 Missourians traveled to Kansas or Illinois each year to receive abortions while Missouri's abortion ban was in effect.
We're hoping that this is just a temporary setback.
The Jackson County judge can issue a new ruling to roll back the regulations on abortion. And Planned Parenthood tells me their legal team has already filed a response to yesterday's Supreme Court opinion.
We are confident that once the judge does that we will be able to restart abortion care in the state of Missouri.
Meanwhile, anti-abortion advocates have already turned their attention to the next battle.
Both women and children will be protected in the state of Missouri.
Another vote on abortion will take place after lawmakers passed a bill to put abortion back on the ballot. Anti-abortion advocates like Brian Westbrook with Coalition Live tells me Amendment 3 was misleading, and this new measure will clear things up.
There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes, rallying the troops, getting synergy around this ballot initiative.
You can expect to see another ballot question on abortion in November 2026. Both sides are preparing to campaign their messages to voters in the months leading up to that vote. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, WGEM News.